Welcome into the Nashville Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Jill Jelnick, and really excited about our next guest because it's hard to find other people that have had as much of an impact on the Nashville Predators as this man beside me. He's impacted the Preds. He's been with the Preds for a long time, a huge hockey fan. Basically, you bleed the Preds yellow. This is the CEO of the Nashville Predators, Sean Henry. Sean, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. I never correct a host, but it's gold.
Gold,
That's
I'm
gold.
sorry.
It's like my swoosh on my navy blue shoes.
Yes,
so thank you for having me.
You bleed the Predators gold on a regular basis. You have since 2010 when you first joined the club.
Yeah, it's almost embarrassing when you open my closet. I had to put sunglasses on, but it's fun. I mean, it's in the center of everything that we do. But you go back to 2010 when we actually picked the new color.
Oh, yeah.
It was really the vision of Tom Seeger and our chairman at the time that he truly turned this franchise around as a chairman. I mean, he and Herb Fritch and Thompson, Zauberpools, his son Chris, they came in and said, you know what, we can compete with anyone.
Yeah.
You know, we're not a little town. We're not this. We're not that.
No.
But it starts with having your own identity. And I remember when we worked with Reebok at the time, it was, all right, let's look at all the uniforms, the blues and the blacks, and you start going down this bar graph. And no team at the time had gold or yellow as its primary color. Yeah. So when you see orange, I know you spent some time in Texas, but when you see orange, you think UT.
That's right.
Pick whichever one you want.
Right.
What we wanted the same thing. When you see gold, it's, that's the Preds.
Yeah.
And I think we're there. It's nice.
That's so funny you say that because one of my favorite fun facts about the Predators is how they got the name, the Nashville Predator mascot name, if you will. And correct me if I'm wrong, way back when, a long time ago, before we were ever here in Nashville, they found underneath the area of Bridgestone Arena was some sort of bones or remains of a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, it's actually the UBS building now, or by City Hall when they were building that. But the best part about that story, that was the Regions building then, or it's called a prior name at the time, but Regions is one of our biggest partners now. So they had the bones on display there, and a good friend of mine, Wanda Lyle, who's the president of UBS, said, why do we have these? You should take them. So now those bones are on display in our building as copies. The real ones are actually in the Smithsonian with the Preds logo.
No way.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat.
We have a artifact of the Nashville Predators in the Smithsonian Museum.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I learn something new every day. There you go.
It was when we presented it to them, we did it on our band stage. I really thought I had the fake ones.
Yeah.
And not that I was playing with it, but you know, you get bored a little bit, or I do. And afterwards I was looking at the video. I was like, oh my gosh, those are the real bones. I shouldn't even touch them.
They have your fingerprints all over them. Yeah. That's too funny. You joined the Preds 2010, took over as CEO in 2015. And man, what a journey. I mean, obviously the Stanley Cup in 2017 stands out, but how about your transformation and this organization's transformation from what's hockey here in Nashville to this is now a hockey city?
It is. I mean, the city revolves around sports and music and live events and, of course, a lot of other things too. But we're just humbled that we're part of it. I mean, we really are, because before the Preds, before the Titans, before the Sounds, it was a live event city. And it was really always a great place to put on a live event. At the same time, we're a new team. The old expansion rules didn't lay out the way they do now, which I think the rules today are much, much better. But every team used to struggle the first 4, 5, 6, 7 years. We were fortunate. Our head coach was the most successful expansion coach at the time, Barry Trotz. Yeah. He replaced Terry Crisp as the most successful expansion coach. But despite that, you still struggled a little bit. So it's hard for people to learn, for many people, learning a new game in a new city. City was a little bit different back then. Broadway was not a place you used to go. Obviously, our building transformed that. People challenge me on that now. I'm like, wait a minute. The old convention center was on Broadway, but the back door was on Broadway. The front door wasn't even. So it gives you a good visual of how tough it was on Broadway. But then the team just blew up because the city blew up. And you had visionary leadership, both again with our local ownership group, all day one season ticket holders, who along with the fans and Mayor Dean and Governor Bredesen saved the team. Yeah. They rallied around the team. But you think about it, we're the only team in sports that is owned by day one season ticket holders. Really? Now, there are teams that have an owner that started the team. That's still
and they claim to be,
But these guys were all just fans. Some of them, their kids played hockey together, they went to school together, they all built their businesses here, they've been successful. and they realized the city was better with this team, and they happen to love the game. But today too, Bill Haslam, who's our chairman now, majority owner, day one season ticket holder as well. He'll be the first one to tell you he didn't come to a lot of games back in the 90s, but he sure did enjoy a good run as governor. It took him right from when we started making deeper playoff runs, and then obviously right through the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup year before that.
Yeah, that Stanley Cup run, President's Trophy, that for a lot of people here, that was a very special time in Nashville.
Could have been more special. It could have 2 more wins.
Yes, but you know what? The book's not done. It is not done being written yet. So that chapter is still open for the Nashville Predators. But going back to that 2017 Stanley Cup run, from your perspective, what stood out to you the most?
You know what? We knew we were a better team than we were playing, but if you remember, we were the 16th team in the playoffs that year, and we were playing the Blackhawks, who were in the middle of their great run.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people who just thought, well, we're going to get swept. Should we even play? Let's just forfeit. And we knew our team was pretty special. But what happened for me was not hearing their goal song for 2 games that were up there. Becca shut them out back-to-back games in their building. And when that happened, I think the whole world was like, what's going on down there?
Who is this team that is shutting out the Chicago Blackhawks?
Right. So that was a lot of fun. My family always travels with me. Like, we go to every All-Star game together. We always have. And almost every playoff game, they'll come with me. School's not so much optional, but during the playoffs, it's a little optional.
Yeah.
But having my kids up there with me and my wife, it was pretty special because I hate to admit it, I love that goal song. I just hate hearing it when we're playing them.
Right. You don't want to hear it whenever you're watching the Predators.
So for me, that was part of it. The other is the crowds and our fans. Our coming out party, I think, was 2016 when we hosted the All-Star game. And we changed the way the All-Star game was presented. We changed the way the Stanley Cup was watched and presented. The year after, we were in the Cup, Vegas was coming about. They spent a lot of time here. Winnipeg, who ended up losing to the following year in the playoffs, they spent time here just say, what and how'd you do what you did outside?
Yeah.
And now you look at their playoff games and the crowd that's out there, or, what we saw really all across the league now started right here in Nashville. And that's because our fans are just the best. They really are. And the city is a great city to work in. Our city never says no. When you look at that run, Sarah Traherne, the CEO of the CMAs, that's their biggest week of the year. And I remember someone said, well, what happens if you have a game on the same night as the CMA? And her answer was better than mine. She's like, well, let's make sure that happens. Now, most people
that's a yes.
Yeah,
we'd be like,
no, we don't want that. And that game 6, I think it was, that we overlaid, into theirs. We had Luke Bryan on top of Tootsie's, NBC, I guess it was, at the time. They were broadcasting from Broadway.
Wow.
We had the Alan Jackson concert outside for game 3 or game 1 for us. And the way the CMAs embrace it, and again, the people at Public Works, the police department, fire, EMTs, they all just had to do a lot more to make that happen, but it was worth it. Having 100,000 people out there. We probably don't have a soccer team if it's not for that run. We probably don't do the NFL draft if it's not for that run, because Don Garber, the commissioner of the MLS, was here. And at the time, if you remember, we were not going to be the city chosen. And of course, having John Ingram, take the helm as an owner helps quite a bit. But you talk Don Garber, he will tell you, when I saw the crowds outside, I realized Nashville's a special place. So it was fun. There were a lot of good things that happened that year, except we should have won.
Yeah.
And I never cry about any calls, but 2 rules got changed that year that we fell victim to.
Yep.
That if they were different going into that series,
could have been a different
maybe
story.
We're not talking about 2 more wins.
Yeah.
But not that I'm bitter.
You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast with Jill Jelnick, and our guest this week, Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators. We'll be right back after this, and don't forget, like and subscribe. Sean, I loved what you said about Nashville doesn't say no. It doesn't. And we are a market size that's not the biggest, right? We're definitely not small. And I swear we are only getting bigger and bigger when it comes to sports. And so not saying no is a great way to describe, I think, the attitude and the mindset of this sports city. And the Predators have that mindset. You guys, looking at the Nashville Predators, let's go ahead and taking a look back at this past season. Obviously, not the best. And when it comes to franchise history, it was disappointing, sure. But I think now that we're coming out of it, we've heard General Manager Barry Trotz talk about the highs and the lows. We heard him how he wants to move forward with head coach Andrew Brunette and the team and try to find a way to make it all work, but better. And so I think my big question to you is, when it comes to this current Preds team, obviously some moves could be made in the next month or two. But when it comes to this current Preds team, what makes you believe that they can be successful or better than the season we had before with the initial core?
Yeah, I think we have to go backwards a little bit further than just this year or last year. At the end of the 22-23 season, and it was going to be David Poyle's last year, we announced Barry back in January or February. But at that trade deadline, we moved out a lot of, our fan favorites, guys that meant a lot to this organization, because we knew we had to reset, where we were. For the past 5-6 years prior to that, we were trading away our draft picks. We were drafting really late anyway because we had some success. So the time was, we got to reset who we are and what we are. I hate saying we have to take a step back to take two forward, but obviously when you trade away guys like, Matty Ekholm, who is going to be so much fun to watch this week in the Stanley Cup Finals, that means so much to our team. But you do that to kind of reset what you're doing, start building the cupboard up with some draft picks, and you see the benefit of that this year in the draft. We have 3 first-round picks this year. I mean, our
most
draft
in franchise history.
Oh, yeah.
For the first round, yes.
Yeah, it's
a big deal.
Incredible. But, a weird thing happened. We played a lot of fun hockey at the end of that year, if you remember. Post the draft, I think Sorrow said, I'm getting us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he almost dragged us in there, and then he got hurt, last, I don't know, whatever it was. But it was fun. I mean, people saw some guys they didn't know before, had to learn who they were, bring them up from Milwaukee. And then that year we had a really good draft. I hate saying the draft's fun.
Yeah.
Because if you're having fun at the draft, that means you didn't have a fun season. But at the same time, you're starting to say this could be the future. And most people thought going into the 23-24 season, it was going to be a year that we could have some fun, maybe play meaningful games in March. But would you guarantee the playoffs going into that season? I don't think one person picked us to make the playoffs. I'm always fairly optimistic. But that was just such a fun season once we turned the page on Christmas.
Yeah.
Remember we went on that great run, 18 straight games with points. U2, I don't know if our guys will ever listen to them again, though we all love them. But it was a lot of fun. And then you go in the playoffs and you play a great team. I mean, we're playing one of the best teams in the league in Colorado. That means a lot. Next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, guys that were playing their first playoffs, that's a good thing to happen. And you see who you want to be. Colorado saw us in 15, 16, 17, 18, and they became the team they are. Now we're looking at teams like Colorado and Dallas, and that's where we want to be. So then we make the playoffs. And, Coach Burnett, Bruno's going to be coach of the year. Everyone was so mad he didn't win. And so then you go into it and you realize, what? We need to bring in a couple of key veterans to continue this. I know it sounds silly. Bring in the key veterans to continue the youth movement.
Right.
Because you want to make sure the guys that are coming up can play in their proper roles. So when you have an opportunity to bring in a Marchessault and a Stamkos and a Brady Shea, you do it, one, because ideally you build off that playoff year a little bit. Those guys are going to play, these types of minutes and roles, show the younger guys what it means to be a pro. You add them to the leadership group that we had with Ryan and Roman and Phil and, just so many others. And you realize this could be a pretty good team. And I remember Barry Trotz said on July 2nd, when people were planning the parade for the following year, he said, they do make us play games. And we also knew by bringing in, 3 really big stars, it would take a while for the team, to gel. It's just really that simple. We had our own 40-goal scorer in Phillip. We brought in 2 40-goal scorers from just the year before. I'm sure it's been done before. I just can't think of a year it's ever happened before. So we're positive. But again, we knew, that October, would be the time for those guys to gel where it would be. Got into that hole early on. It was hard to climb out of it. It really was.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you guys made a mistake or you did this or you did this. I can tell you what we did in July is going to pay benefits for this team. It didn't last year. We didn't go 82-0. We didn't win 16 straight playoff games. Like a lot of people were picking us to go, Final Four at least. I think that was a little unfair too. I like that optimism though. But again, when you look at some of the young guys that had a chance to emerge, and again, playing proper minutes, playing 14, 16 minutes a game, playing maybe second shift power play, maybe not getting burdened on a penalty kill because who we brought in, it worked out well. Now, with that said, of course it was disappointing. I was there too. I didn't say we go 82-0, but I was like 80-2 maybe. But we were all pretty excited about it. And I still am. I mean, when you looked at those guys during the exit interviews, clean out the locker, the days, hanging around afterwards, to a person, you were there interviewing them, the same quote was said over and over and over again. And I think that's a good thing. And it was, we're disappointed.
Yeah.
We're better than this, and we're going to be better than this. So what I'm excited about is all the young guys that got a chance to play in pretty prominent roles. Again, Milwaukee makes another pretty deep run. Playoff hockey is different than normal hockey. I'm excited about next season. I really am. Because you look at where, those guys are that we brought in and what they're going to do. Look at the guys that we already had that were stars in their own right. And it's going to be a fun year, I think. Now, does that mean we're going to win the Stanley Cup? I hope so. Anything can happen once you get in the playoffs like we saw in 2017. I saw it in Tampa in 2004 when we didn't have a great year, but all of a sudden we came on at the end. It's going to be fun, and we're going to be playing really meaningful games in February and March, ideally in April, and then who knows what happens. So I'm excited about it. But more importantly, we got 3 number 1 picks.
Yeah.
We have the 5th pick in the draft. We have not enjoyed that, but 2 other times in our franchise's career. So we're going to get 2, 3 really, really good players that eventually some kid's going to be wearing that guy's name on the back of his jersey, or my daughter will end up saying, "Oh my gosh, we got to meet him."
Yes,
so that's exciting.
No, it's going to be a exciting couple weeks, busy couple weeks sprint to the NHL Draft. First day is June 27th. When it comes to the NHL Draft, especially with a year where you do have so many top picks, how does your role change? What are you doing behind the scenes?
Like, we're gonna have to hug a lot of people, high five a lot of parents,
kiss a lot of babies.
Yeah. It's funny. It's we're doing a decentralized draft this year. Mm-hmm. We're always been centralized. We had the draft in Nashville just a year or two ago.
2 years.
So our war room will be here,
mm-hmm.
and then we have league meetings out in LA where the draft is actually happening, despite all teams being in their home cities. So Bill Hazel, myself, probably 8, 9 other people will be in LA for the draft, and it'll be fun to welcome in a bunch of families. Now we're going to leave after the first round, and we'll bring the guys drafted in the first round back with us, because the first round's Friday, the rest of the rounds are on Saturday. And we'll be walking into our own draft party or beer festival while the second day is still going on. So maybe if you're at that charity event, you'll have a chance to meet our top draft picks.
I will be there. Trust me. I already have it penciled in. Draft, beer fest for the Preds, number 1 draft or top first round draft picks. Check. That's so funny. I mean, what a way to welcome someone into Smashville too, right? Hey, we're gonna fly you out here. Here's the city. Here's a beer. Let's get things going.
Well, they probably won't have a beer. They're only going to be ideally they're only 18 years old.
That's right. But
they'll see
Young
the festivities. And
yes.
we'll have some sodas for them, some Cokes or Dr. Peppers.
Yeah. And that beer fest also goes back to the 615 Foundation, Preds Foundation.
Yep.
So big charity event for you guys. I am always amazed. I feel like every other week I get another press release or someone talks to me. Oh, Preds are doing this. Preds are raising money here. Fundraiser here. You guys do a phenomenal job when it comes to not only rallying the community, but giving back to the community. Beer Fest is just one of them, but in general, how proud are you to work for an organization that takes so much pride in that?
It is, to a person, whether it doesn't matter what position is in the organization, you give to our foundation. Every employee is recommended that they give at least 40 hours a year in community service. You can do it during a work day. It doesn't matter. The reason we do that is, number one, we want to put 14, 15, 16,000 hours of community service right back into the place that we all love. We also know what's important to our employees. And when you look at the, probably 1,200, 1,300 charities that we work with, we donate to, we give money to, we give away over $4 million a year. It's really important that we do it around our employees' passions, our players' passions. A lot of teams will tell a player, this is what your charity is. I got here, the first thing we did is we want to know who the players are. What do they care about? And some have very strong passions over this or that. Some are just young guys coming right out of juniors or college that they want to do something, but we need to expose them to what their passions are. But you look at what's been, created out of it. The 365 Fund something that, Pecorine and Shea Weber did together. I don't even know how much money we've donated to Vanderbilt over the years.
So much.
It's in the millions. And we bring kids out and caregivers out every single game. They sit in Peck and Shea's suite. So they forget about those needles and the pain, for a little window. But like something like that probably wouldn't have come if we just told people, all right, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. When you sit down and talk to the guys, it's important. And every single player is involved in something because they want to be. That's special. It really is. And we have the most active sports foundation, I think, in sports. Again, I'd like someone to challenge that because I'd like to celebrate that other team that's even doing more, and maybe we can learn something from them. But so many teams in our league and, throughout the city, they do a lot. And again, it's silly, the attention that we get sometimes as a franchise or all sports teams. But we have a chance to megaphone, spotlight, really good causes. And again, when a player can walk into a hospital or a school or wherever, you remember it forever. The only athlete I met, and this is no disrespect to him, when I was a kid growing up, he spoke at our Little League banquet. He was Tony Fields. He played for the Long Island Arrows or Apollos, indoor soccer at the time. And great star, wonderful person, I'm sure. But we have Pecorine. We have Shea Weber walking in, Hall of Famers or soon to be Hall of Famers. And I think that's just so cool how close so many of our guys are, to what's going on. You have Jonathan Marchessault and Steve Stamkos coaching youth hockey. And think about that. You're one of the best players in the history of the game.
Yeah.
And you're looking out. One, you can't argue with them.
No, you can't.
You shouldn't
Can't argue with Coach. Yeah. Not those coaches. You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Sean, some big news that you guys announced after the season, the new plans for Bridgestone Arena. Very exciting. Also, I want to talk about it with you because I'm biased. I think Bridgestone Arena is the best arena out there. Phenomenal job in terms of both hockey atmosphere and also just concert atmosphere. But what can you tell us about the expansion plans for Bridgestone Arena coming 2027?
Well, we'll see.
Or around there.
I'll go through the timeline in a moment.
Yeah.
But basically 8 years ago, we're looking at the building, and we invest a lot. We put $120 million in the building in the past, 8 or 9 years. And I think that's important. The more you invest in the building, the more fun it is. And our goal is to get out of our fans' way so they can have fun. Continue the energy from the street right on into the building, do all the great things they do, from the Let It Be song with the lighter, on a goal overturn, or telling another goalie he may suck. Those are fun things. But what we're looking at is, our lease is up in 2028. What should we do? I know a lot of teams, buildings up in 30 years, demolish it, start new with a new building. I love history. I love sports being a generational, storytelling. And, my older son, his wife, their first date was at Bridgestone Arena at a hockey game. And I want my granddaughter to tell her son, this is where your grandparents met and your great-grandfather.
Yes.
Here, ideally point up to a few Stanley Cup banners. But if you invest in the building, you can make this building the most modern building, or continue to make it the most modern building in America for the next, 30, 40, 50 years. Madison Square Garden's 70 years old. Mm-hmm. They did the same thing, a 5-year renovation like we're doing. Lambeau did the same thing. Wrigley Field did it. Fenway did it. And by the way, I don't like the Packers or the Cubs or the Red Sox.
For the record, we do, don't like those teams, but they did something right.
They did it. And, there's like the Yankees ruined my life. I love the Yankees, but when they tore down the great stadium, the house that Ruth built and did the house that Jeter built, it's not the same. When I do take my granddaughter there, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, this was built 10 years ago.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
it's different.
Yeah, this is where your great-grandfather came when he came over from Italy. And I think that's important. The other part is we created that entertainment district around us. Mm-hmm. Broadway blew up around our building, then the stadium was added, and those bookends going back and forth. Where else would you want to be? And we have the best front porch in all sports, and this is where we want to be forever. So we decided, let's redo the lease. Let's extend the lease through 2049. And we're not going to take any money out of the general fund or from the city or for the state. It's all user generated. We generate what we do in the building, and that's what's going to fund it. And we're really proud of that as well. We actually fund a lot of other entities that come off of our building. The Sports Authority, for example, their budget is funded off the activity of Bridgestone Arena. We like that. We want to be additive to the city, and we don't want anyone to ever think We're sitting at a game. Where could this money be going other than this building? Well, it's going to go into your schools, and it's going to go into fire and police, and we're proud of it. We really are. But it only happens when you have dedicated owners who say, this is important. This is the city that we live in, the state that we love. Let's make sure we're always being additive, and no one should ever think about any numbers coming in our building except for 35 and 9 and 91. That's what you should be thinking about when you come to the building. Not the armrest is broken. Is it broken because they're cheap or they're waiting for a new building to open? You should come on in and have fun and be able to stand on that chair screaming and yelling.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing more drawings, rendering, all that good stuff, and hearing more about.
I didn't go to the timeline.
Yeah. You said, what did we say?
So next summer, we started these plans years ago. Like we're renovating our locker room right now. We're blowing out the training room, the weight room, the equipment room. We're creating a kitchen in the players' lounge, something really different. The goal is to always give the players, that extra edge. But in 2 years, we're going to triple the size of the locker room, but not in that space. It's going to be slid over a little bit. That space will end up becoming a combination of a club and the visiting team locker room. Okay. So even now when we're doing things, we just built the California Closet Studio or MGM Sports Lounge last year. All those things start fitting into the future plans. But summer of 26, we'll literally start doing certain projects to get ready for the summer of 27, 28, and 29, where we'll shut down in the summer. The minute we're done playing hockey, we'll shut down and really go to town. Because it's not just about adding all the really cool, 180,000 square feet of retail space and restaurants and bars. It's about making the arena better. This is an arena improvement project. We're going to make the building a little bit bigger. We're going to build a press box, something that you should like because we don't have one right now.
Woo-hoo, sign me up for that. Right. I want my own chair, please.
Right. You'll have your own chair. We'll have restrooms, a novel experience.
Yes, love that.
But when we do that and move that up a whole nother level, it allows us to really populate that level with all of our fans. We'll have a rooftop deck that spills off of the upper bowl. I mean, think about it. The upper concourse are where some of your best fans in the world sit. And now they're going to have some of the best amenities in the entire building in a very, very cool way. So, we're excited.
As am I, as I'm sure is the entire Preds fan base.
Some aren't, just change isn't for everyone, I know.
Well, that's okay, but it sounds like this is going to be headed in the right direction.
This is good change. Because it's the same building that they created and they truly, truly built. It just makes it a little bit nicer for them.
It's not going away. You're listening to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. Our guest this week, Sean Henry, CEO of the Nashville Predators. Sean, you have so much history with this club. We talked about the Stanley Cup run. We talked about when you first came here and helped build this city and make it into the hockey city it is today. I know your work is far from over, but when you look back at your time with this organization and you think about the legacy you're leaving here in Smashville, what are you most proud of?
I'm asked that a lot. And, we're a really close-knit family. And all my kids played hockey. And we played a lot of things. But my oldest son now coaches his old high school team, which is pretty rewarding in that. My youngest son just graduated. So everyone was back together. My one son lives out of town now. But everyone was together. And we talked about just that. I love the fact that my boys learned to play hockey in Tampa. Moved here, they were in 9th and 5th grade. My daughters were 3 and 6. They learned to play hockey here, but they learned to play hockey in Antioch. And of all the things we work on in the future, and I love what we built in Antioch and Bellevue and Montgomery County with that arena, what we've done in and around the city, really again, I always give credit to, Carl Dean and Governor Bredesen or Mayor Bredesen and, every mayor since then. And Freddie O'Connell was our council person who helped design what we're doing and where we're going for the future of the building. But for me, Antioch, I think, is the most special thing we've done because when we opened that a little over 10 years ago, Antioch was just going the wrong direction. It really was. And now, we built a park and a library and a rec center and the rink. And I like saying it like that because it's just part of it all. And now Nashville SC is out there and businesses are moving out there and, the right things are happening. And as Mayor Bredesen always said, if you invest civic furniture in certain parts of town, economic booms will follow. And that's exactly what happened with our building. It happened with the baseball stadium, the football stadium, obviously in Antioch and Bellevue, and who knows where the next one is. But the fact that, I don't even know, we have 10 times the number of kids playing hockey today than were not that many years ago, that's a great thing. Because, and we designed our seasons for rec hockey to be micro seasons because we want kids to play other things too.
Yeah.
Too many sports. This is my opinion. You said
well, let's go right into it. I know you have a lot of opinions, but go ahead. What is, in your opinion, Sean?
Youth sports are the best thing in the world. Kids that play sports, it's just proven, just do better in a lot of different things. And you don't have to be the star of the team. You just be on a team and learn success and disappointment and all those things. But too many kids today are only playing one sport because some goofy coach is trying to explain to them that that's what they should be doing. And that's why you see all the arm problems and, it's very similar injuries. Each sport has their own when that child only focuses on one. So when we built it, we didn't want people to make a choice between volleyball and hockey, football and hockey, baseball and hockey. It's volleyball and hockey. So we built it all around those other sports. And I remember when I got here, a coach said to me, I will not let my football players play anything else. I said, well, then you're going to lose a lot of really good athletes because that lacrosse player is not going to play, the basketball player, baseball player. Why don't we become a little bit more rounded? And I'm glad he's not with that school anymore. I don't say ours. Yeah. I just did. Because again, not too many kids are going to go play college sports. Of that group, what, 0.01% will play pro sports?
Small percentage will go on to the pro. Less than 1% go on to the pro level. And then,
But every kid that plays a sport, male or female, will have a bond that is incredible. And again, whether you're the worst player or best player on the team, it doesn't matter. You're part of that team.
That's why we love the sports, right? Because it builds that team chemistry, teamwork skills.
And again, hockey more so than any other sport.
Yeah.
Because the worst player on the team plays almost as much as the best player on the team. So because of that, you have this natural crossover and pulling and coaching and pushing and helping up. But the others, you look at our locker room. That's why I always say to anyone that tries to explain to me that your son or daughter should only play one sport. There's not one player in our locker room, not one, that only played hockey. And not
multiple sport athletes.
Shea Weber might be the best example of when we used to do batting practice over at Vanderbilt. Legendary coach over there would say he is a natural basebal player.
Yeah,
and it's true. I played catch with him one time.
He can really swing it.
Oh my gosh, my hand still hurts. but there's an example. He played really competitive baseball. Pretty late, as most of the guys played something else.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you go to the Titans locker room, same thing. Those guys all played multiple sports.
Well, and growing up, that cross training, so important, right? Football season gets you in shape for basketball, which gets you in shape for baseball, softball. As someone who played 3 sports growing up, and then I went the college softball direction when I funneled my way through, right? Yeah, a certain age. But if I didn't have the conditioning from basketball, the training from basketball, and then also in soccer too, the skills you learn, the physical skill set in each sport, you don't realize how much they cross over in the moment, whether it's game, practice, conditioning, whatever.
And the mental relief of just changing it.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the mental side of that. So I'm right there with you with your opinion.
More of it.
Yeah. So. I also have you to thank for my men's hockey league that I play in at Antioch and Bellevue. Thanks to the Preds organization, I have a fun place to play in my men's league on Tuesday nights. Shout out 615 Mercs. I'm the starting right wing. Don't want to, toot my own horn, but but no, you have, because of what you guys have done. I mean, we've talked extensively about youth sports, but how about women? How about women in hockey, right? That's something that we're seeing more and more of. I'm trying to get on that wave too.
I mean, the sea change in 93, 4, 5, when the spotlight was put on the women's game, it just changed, who and what we are. And you look at some of the leagues now, some are co-ed and, some are just men, just women. We have more of our female employees now playing in our own leagues. The other night we had the rodeo and Reba McEntire, but we lost like 9 of our own employees because they were going to play a game, and they're all excited they got to come back.
That's so funny. That's dedication. Awesome. I love that. Love to hear that. Love to see it. It's another example, another layer that the Preds organization has helped create and has helped develop over its long time here in Nashville, and it's headed in such a positive direction. I know there's a lot of excitement right now going into this new season. I'm just excited for the future with you guys. Everyone I've met in that organization not only is so nice, but driven and passionate, and that's who you need calling the shots.
I love you said that. I really do.
You are one of them, my friend.
I appreciate that.
You are one of them.
We have 400 really, really just good people.
Yeah.
That we try to promote fun. I mean, really, our fans come to have fun.
Yeah.
Right. So we're walking around miserable. Well, it probably won't be that much fun.
It's not a good look. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, look, I'm dressed this way. You're not going to too many corporate offices and see the CEO wearing shorts.
Yeah.
No one, I happen to like shorts a lot.
Yeah.
But you want people to be a little bit loose, because the looser you are, the more comfortable you are with the people you work with, the more ideas are going to be, the more honest you can be. And the end result is you have a really good group. And of all the awards that we've won and accolades, again, there's one that we need to win. But the one we're most proud of is our work culture. Yeah. And we've been, one of the best employers in the country, I don't know, for a long time. And we're proud of that. Yeah. We really are.
No surprises there. He is Sean Henry, the CEO of the Nashville Predators. Be sure to count down the days with us to the NHL Draft coming up on June 27th and then June 28th. That will be the Predators Beer Fest. Mark that down. I will definitely be there. He will be there. We'll be there. Come say hello to us.
It's the coolest beer fest in town because it's inside.
Because it's inside. You don't have to worry about the heat. I love that.
That's right.
Sean, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Nashville Game Changers podcast. And don't forget, please like and subscribe.